a feel that have played in the playoffs. The excitement, the fans, the competition, all that stuff, has whet their appetite to the point where they want more of it. But it's, to your point, it's not going to just happen. We're going to have expectations. But we had always expected to be in the playoffs all season long. We talked about it a lot in film and in practice and what it would take to be there. Those were internal expectations. The external ones are ones that can oftentimes be more of an anchor.
Reckless speculation.
Chris Finch just sort of reflecting on a good Wolves season. This is Reckless Speculation Thursday. To all who celebrate, Mackie, Judd, executive producer Declan, and our insider friend from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department and the Scoop Podcast, Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Reckless speculation.
What's up, dudes?
My favorite day of the week. Who cares that it's Cinco de Mayo? Way more importantly, happy Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Exactly. And listen, you can still throw back a tequila, go get some some
tacos
down the street, whatever you got to do.
That's the lifestyle.
Yeah, you got to live it.
Nicholas Early, dang it.
You actually just got done with an interview with Gupta, and I don't know, let's start with some Timberwolves stuff here. We did a full episode. I know you guys have talked Timberwolves on the bonus scoop earlier this week. Yesterday, we went through 3 key offseason things the Timberwolves have to deal with. Number 1, would you trade D'Lo? Number 2, do you give Karl Anthony Towns a super max? And then number 3, how good can Anthony Edwards become in a year or 3 years from now? But, where as they sort through how to go from, okay, we finally made the playoffs. This is great. We're a 46-win team. But now we're looking up at all these other teams, and we got to at some point become more of a 55-60-win team that aspires to go deeper in the playoffs. And some decisions have to be made this offseason. So let's start with Gupta. Is he going to be making the decisions, do you think?
Well, he'll certainly have the chance to win over the decision makers. His relationship, Phil, with Glenn Taylor has evolved solidly. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. If I had asked Glenn Taylor this time last year, Cinco de Mayo of May 2021, hey, Glenn, tell me what you know about Sachin Gupta, I think I would have gotten a blank stare. I truly believe that. At the time, Sachin was number 2 in the front office.
Amazing.
I'm not convinced. Now, others, sure, they knew of Sachin, but Glenn specifically, I'm just telling you, I'm not convinced Glenn had any working knowledge of who Sachin Gupta was a year ago. Now, he certainly does. Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez certainly have a working relationship with him. We heard, that was a great soundbite that you played, Declan, from Chris Finch on Saturday. But also on Saturday, Chris Finch, almost unprompted, went to bat big time for Sachin, alluding to the idea that this partnership needs to continue. And let me remind everybody, it was in large part Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez, who drove the bus on the Chris Finch extension, right? So you think about how Chris, Mark, and Alex are aligned. So those two are going to listen to Chris on a lot of fronts. The only thing that makes me pause a little bit is going back to September, there was legit Elton Brand steam, the number 2 guy in Philadelphia, legit Landry Fields steam, the number 2 in Atlanta. Maybe he's number 3, but he's in the Atlanta Hawks front office. That I do think there's legitimacy to Mark and Alex specifically liking those 2 guys. So I think it is going to be a legitimate search. But Sachin is going to be a big part of that search. He will be given every opportunity to win this job on a full-time basis. Elevate, really. Remember, he never was given any sort of interim title. He just, this whole year, retained that VP title, but had final decision-making power. But he certainly will have every opportunity to elevate to president of operations, but nothing is promised.
So let's explore this path then, because I think it's a very important question of if you get a new Pro Bowl or you keep Sachin, who's going to pay him? So the simple question is this. If they're going to do a search, like if Mark and Alex say, Glenn, we want to do a search. We're very impressed by people. Elton Brand's a big name. Would they somehow try and make those 2 pay Elton Brand? Because as long as Glenn's there, I think if Glenn writes the check, I think the reality is Glenn's probably going to stay status quo because he loves comfort. And he probably doesn't have to pay Sachin nearly as much as he would a new president of basketball ops. So what's the feeling about how this could play out? And if Mark and Alex really do take on a big role here, could they be stuck with the check and told, okay, that's fine, but you're going to have to pay them. I'm not going to do that.
Well, I mean, certainly. I mean, looking at the Finch negotiations, just to use that as a reference point, I'm telling you, that was in large part Mark and Alex, because the timeline remains the same. Now, I still think this could change at some point, but right now, as we sit here on May 5th of 2022, the plan is for Mark and Alex, December of 2023, so in about, 16, 17-ish months, to take over as majority owners. Whoever the president of operations is going to be, unless it's a Paul Fenton type situation, that individual is going to be in place for a while, right? Will be in place when Mark and Alex are the majority owners. But right now, clearly, Glenn Taylor is the majority owner. Glenn Taylor will have a big say. He'll have the final say in who the president of operations is. But clearly, Mark, Alex, Glenn are going to have to work in lockstep on that. I'm with you. Glenn has been incredibly loyal to a fault, going back many, many years. And yes, he can save some money by hiring Sachin. Elton Brand would cost a lot more money. To me, the question, Judd, is also, would Sachin have any interest in staying with that VP title? Would he stay as the number 2? Because there's so many strengths there. Like, I don't think you want to lose Sachin Gupta. And remember, Sacramento wanted to hire him. He's paid his dues. Detroit, Philly, Houston. He is ready to be a president of operations. The only thing he's lacking, really, is that dynamic personality. But how often do a lot of presidents of operations meet the media across the league? Yes, most often guys do something at the end of the season. Just about every president of operations did something to wrap up the season. You probably do something maybe pre-trade deadline because there's so many media requests. You do something post-trade deadline, especially if there was some action. But otherwise, and I suppose media day or sometime during training camp, but otherwise, it's not like the president of operations is front and center all that often. So even though he's lacking that dynamic personality, is that big of a deal for a guy that has absolutely paid his dues? And I just don't sense that there's a strong interest there in staying as the number 2. He does love it here. His wife delivers babies here in town. She absolutely loves it here, but hey, she could go deliver babies in another city. That's a job that translates to other cities. I have a hard time believing that he would accept, after having this 1 year being the final decision maker, that sort of power, that he would then say, okay, go ahead, bring in Elton Brand, but I'll retain my VP title. I'll come back as the number 2. Also, I did check, not necessarily in my 30 minutes with him today, but checked with some others on his contractual situation. So originally, he was set to have an expiring contract this summer. When Gerson got let go, when Sachin was given this newfound power, same title, but newfound power, there was some sort of adjustment made. So I was told it's not black and white. I still have to dig more on the terms, how his contract is written, but I was told point blank by multiple people, the contract is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area to his contract.
Yeah, I think even if he does, let's say they hire Elton Brand or something to be the president of basketball owners. Yeah, okay, we'd love to keep you. We'll give you another raise to be the second guy in line, but it's just a matter of time. If he's destined to be a Pobo, it's just a matter of time until he leaves. So, maybe the best case scenario is you can keep him for one more year. I have a question, speaking of contracts. So D'Lo just had a nightmare series against Memphis going into an offseason where, not only are the Timberwolves trying to figure out what to do with him contractually with 1 year left, but the entire league is looking at him too. At this point, he's 7-8 years into the league or whatever he is, and he's been with a bunch of different teams. So, what do you think his value is? There's no way I give him a max extension, and even if he were to take a discount, I'm just kind of at the point where there's certain guys, Doogie, that can get you from 25 wins to 40 plus wins. Stephon Marbury was that guy for the Timberwolves 25 years ago. But then there's certain hard decisions you have to make if you want to go from like 40, 45 wins to 55, 60. And I think he's one of those hard decisions. You thank him for helping get to the playoffs, and there were some great things that he did. Is that a valuable expiring contract in a trade? Like, could what could you do with him with 1 year left on the deal? Would you have to attach a first round pick? Some team, I think, is going to look at that as a valuable expiring contract and maybe a reclamation project. What do you think?
Yes, you can trade him without attaching, for example, the number 19 pick in the June draft. That expiring contract absolutely can be moved. But do I think there's a bunch of teams knocking down the door to acquire D'Angelo Russell?
No.
They are aware of his warts. They look at it and say, fourth team in 7 years. Okay, that's a red flag. Okay, let's look at the playoff series against Memphis. Okay, he stunk. Now, he was good in the playing game. He was good for about the first, 55, 60 games of the season. Mm-hmm. He was their best clutch player. He does deserve kudos for the way he played for a large part of the regular season. Then he disappeared about the final, 12 to 16-ish, 18-ish games. You can't give him the extension. And I'm just telling you, Phil, I'm with you. But, if Sachin is making the decision whether to extend D'Angelo Russell, I will be shocked. Not a lot shocks me anymore in the world of sports doing this long enough. I will be shocked, especially the money D'Lo won. So he's eligible for an extension that can pay him in the vicinity of $40 million a year.
No.
I'm telling you. Sachin Gupta is not doing that. I'm sorry, he's
What's
not.
that, Phil?
No.
I'd have a hard time believing Elton Brand would
dog.
do
That's
that.
a no for me,
Adrian
dog.
Fields would do that. No right-minded president of operations is giving D'Angelo Russell the money he wants. I brought this up with Judd on Tuesday, Phil. Let's say, I have a hard time believing this because D'Angelo Russell's agent, Aaron, big timer with Creative Arts Agency, I just don't think Aaron Mintz is taking, some sort of team-friendly contract or a low-ball type offer. But, if he was willing to come back at 3 years around about the money he's making right now, maybe a little less, $26, $27 million a year, would you bring D'Lo back at 3 years, $78 million? Not that he's taking that.
Man.
But that's the hypothetical I threw out to Judd. And I'm not even sure he would take that. I'm not even sure the Wolves would want him back.
I think the problem. I think the problem I have is, when you brought him in to be the Robin to Cat's Batman, and those two guys were going to sort of be the face of the Timberwolves and take all the clutch shots and everything. And then a little thing called Anthony Edwards happened, and Anthony Edwards is just very much ready to be the guy here. And personality-wise, the way he rose up in the playoffs at times, I think the dynamic has changed so much. I need a point guard that their first thought is to facilitate the success of Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. And their second thought is, if I'm open in a spot where I need to take a shot, cool, I'll take a shot. And I think even D'Lo would tell you he's in the score first, shoot first point guard bin. Stephon Marbury was in that bin. I don't love the small, offensive-minded, inefficient point guards if your aspiration is to go to 55 or 60 wins. I need someone who's either going to be more efficient as a scorer. I need either a better offensive version of D'Angelo Russell, which Anthony Edwards kind of is. I mean, he's just a bigger, more superstar version. Or I need someone, this is going to sound crazy to some fans, but Tyus Jones is a better player now than he was 2 years ago. I don't know that he's like a 30 minutes, 40 minutes a game starting caliber player, but I think a guy with his mindset of I'm going to facilitate first, play some defense, and then if I get open for three, awesome. I don't know that D'Lo fits. I don't know that. I almost feel like the pecking order doesn't work for what he wants to do on a basketball court. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's hard to get out of my mind. Game 5, after the Wolves choke, but still have a chance late. Clock ticking down, 24, 23, 22. D'Lo, dribble. Hadn't been good all game. Takes that horrible shot. Misses it badly. I can't get that Game 5 vision out of my mind. You're right. Tyus Jones would be an unbelievable fit. He leads the NBA in assist-to-turnover ratio, so he doesn't turn the ball over. Keeps the ball moving. Now
he's an advanced metric guy, man. His advanced metrics shine, even if his scoring doesn't necessarily.
Big time. Now I can tell you, Memphis absolutely wants to keep him. I am curious to see what Detroit does at the point guard position. I've actually thought about Detroit for a potential D'Angelo Russell home. They are going to do something at the point guard position. So, is it as simple as Jalen Brunson? Maybe. The Dallas point guard is a free agent. So,
Dude, that would be how would you do? Maybe a sign and trade. Jalen Brunson's number one on my list, but I mean, you can't just sign him because you don't have any cap space.
His dad's history here, I don't see Jalen Brunson coming here. That's just me.
Yeah.
Remember, his dad was here under Tibbs,
Yeah.
and there was some stuff there. I don't see Jalen Brunson necessarily landing here, but he's a really, really good player. My buddy Sean Sweeney is Jason Kidd's number one assistant. I mean, he just speaks glowingly about Jalen when I've caught up with Sean. And so, I don't know if Dallas can retain him, even though Mark Cuban, it doesn't matter. He'll pay whatever the luxury tax is. But, that's going to be a really hard one for Dallas to keep just based on role and the way Luka plays. So, maybe Brunson ends up in Detroit. But Detroit is going to do something at the point guard position. But if not Jalen, I've thought about maybe Tyus there. I think the Knicks could use a point guard. They have some cap space. But, Tibbs is there. Heck, Gerson is there. Remember, Gerson decided not to match the Memphis offer sheet.
Dude, D'Lo is a perfect Nick. He's a perfect Nick. You've crystallized it. D'Lo's Marbury. He's Marbury.
Yeah, well, on the Knicks, I'm saying I don't see Tyus there. As long as Gerson is there, yes, on D'Angelo there. Like, the biggest fan in the world of D'Angelo Russell is Gerson Rosas.
Yeah.
There's not a bigger D'Angelo Russell fan. So if I'm Sachin or Elton Brand or whomever it is, the first phone call I'm making is to Leon Rose in New York, then circulate it, somehow trickle it down to Gerson so Gerson can, somehow convince Leon. They have that creative agency connection.
Hey, Gerson.
Convince the Knicks to make a move on D'Angelo Russell. That absolutely has to be the first phone call. The other thing they could do, Phil, just play this thing out that you hope that D'Angelo, plays more like he did the first 55, 60 games next year. That the Wolves, if they want, one summer from now, summer of 2023, can have a good amount of cap space, like legit cap space. And I haven't looked ahead to see what the free agent class of the summer of 2023 looks like, but I imagine there's going to be some pretty good players in that class that you could play this thing out. You don't exercise the team option for that following year on Malik Beasley. So Malik Beasley essentially is an expiring contract. D'Angelo Russell is an expiring contract. So you could, if you wanted to, do something along those lines.
Who's a free agent?
Roll this thing back through.
LeBron.
But you hope that you can maintain your health.
The
Wolves were incredibly healthy this year. And roll this thing back, even re-sign Taurean Prince. There is some interest there, although my sense is Prince has a little bit more interest in returning than maybe the Wolves have in him returning. That's a situation I keep an eye on. But, depending on the price point, there will be some dialogue there about re-signing their biggest name free agent, Taurean Prince. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to, you could look at rolling this thing back, figuring Anthony Edwards is that much better next year. Jaden McDaniels is that much better next year. You do some stuff on the outer edges, like go find Jalen Noel a better home, but maybe you can get something for Jalen Noel. He deserves to play more than he has here. So you can do some things. You need to bring in some interior help, but that number 19 pick, if you could get the Duke center Williams or even the Auburn center Kessler, like that rookie, one of those rookies could help you immediately next year for a few minutes, rebounding and shot blocking. You've got those 3 second-round picks that you can do some stuff with. There's a little bit of a roster crunch, but I'm just saying, if Gupta wanted to, or if Brand wants to, or whomever it is, they just want to kind of run this thing back. I don't know if that's the worst idea. This is a very tight-knit group. It's weird to say that, because there's been so many drama-filled Wolves rosters, but this particular group is pretty darn tight. As aloof as D'Lo is, he's a unique personality, but for the most part, this roster really, really gets along. They like each other, right? So you could make a case. Now, hey, Kawhi Leonard, healthy next year. Are the Lakers really going to be this bad again? I don't buy the Stephen A. Smith. It's more his opinion, but I don't see the Lakers trading LeBron James. So I think the Lakers find a way, bring in a shooter, bring in, somebody on a vet minimum contract that can help in the interior. Hopefully Anthony Davis stays healthy, LeBron stays healthy. Maybe the Lakers run things back. I don't know if there's, much better ideas, and the Lakers should be better. Maybe they look at Frank Vogel as the scapegoat, bring in a new coach that they're going to jump up. San Antonio has cap space this summer. What do they do with that cap space? I'm not sure. New Orleans, should be better next year. They were a playoff team this year. I think they'll be better next year. But like, does Utah drop off? What do they do with Gobert, Donovan Mitchell? Like, can Utah run things back? But Denver's going to be better next year. Jamal Murray will be back. Michael Porter Jr. will be back. So, like, the Western Conference isn't slowing down. When you think about, okay, now they have to find a way to jump up from 7 to 4, right? You look at the landscape of the playoffs right now, both conferences, it's the top 4 seeds that have moved on. Now, we can debate how important home court advantage is. Heck, the Wolves won game 1 in Memphis. But I do think there is some importance to being a top 4 seed in your conference in terms of making a legit run, to playing multiple playoff series. But I'm just saying, I could make a case for just running this whole thing back.
I guess just to put the bow too on the point guard conversation, Dukes, as it is reckless speculation on Thursday here.
Reckless speculation.
It just seems like they could get by with a point guard rotation of whether it's Tyus Jones if they brought him in, Pat Bev, Jordan McLaughlin. Obviously, I know Balmaro's still probably a step away from making contributing minutes, but just like to basically parse out all those point guard minutes if you're to move on from D'Angelo, I think those three guys can replace those minutes and the value with even better value than what D'Lo was able to provide this last season.
I really like McLaughlin, Declan. I really do. That was actually a good get by, I don't want to give him credit. He's a different dude, but Brian Pauga, who used to be in the Wolves front office under Layden and Tibbs, he's the one who was single-handedly, for the most part, responsible for Jordan McLaughlin landing with the Wolves. J-Mac can play. Like, I'd love to see J-Mac get 28 to 32 minutes. Then maybe you bring in, some other guard. I haven't looked at all the free agent point guards, but, bring in somebody else. Yeah, you move D'Lo. Maybe you bring back interior help. I mean, that's to me, Phil, Declan, Judd, that's like some team will say, okay, we'll take D'Lo, his expiring contract. We'll give you this player who's got 2 years left or 3 years left, right? So the Wolves are taking back more money. Now, that would screw up the idea, one potential plan of having this cap space summer of 2023. But then that goes back to, like, our free agents, like, yearning to come to Minnesota. No. They're working on that. They hired Marquise Watts behind the scenes. They're trying to figure out ways to make this more of an enjoyable experience for players, the player experience side of things. But I still don't think a lot of players are, knocking down the door to come to Minnesota. Now, money ultimately talks for a lot of these guys, but like maybe that's the trade you make. You move D'Lo for, a power forward. I still think you can bring Jared Vanderbilt off the bench. So you can find a starting power forward that's got 2 or 3 years left on his contract. And that team says, yeah, we just don't want to pay this guy for 3 more years or 2 more years. We'll take expiring D'Lo. So those are the types of scenarios I personally would look at.
Dukes, off the court, news came out today, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise. Dave Benz has been removed as the team's television play-by-play voice. We don't have a replacement yet, but sounds like, according to the reporting by Johnny Krasinski of The Athletic, they informed Benz yesterday that his contract was not going to be, I think there was an option, renewed. What can you tell us about that, and what do you think about my theory that the first person who's going to be offered the opportunity to replace Dave Benz is Marnie Gellner, who has stepped in for Benz before? And keep in mind too, we just got done with the Sixers and Bucks had females in the TV play-by-play spots there, and I think they both did well. Gellner does a good job. I think that there's a good chance that we're going to see a transition here to the first female play-by-play voice in Twin City sports.
Would not surprise me one bit. And that would have to do with this decision being made more than anything. It's not like Dave Benz did anything wrong. Not necessarily my favorite play-by-play announcer, but you know what? Pretty darn popular, and I think a lot of people can be good next to Jim Pete, but there's a certain relationship you need to have with your color guy, with your analyst, right? And I think, Dave deserves credit for that Jim Pete has become just about the best analyst in the game, certainly on a local level. Right. So I love Jim Pete. So I think Dave deserves credit for, some of Jim's development. But yeah, I think put it this way, Judd, I think you're very much on to something. I mean, they think the world of Alan Horton, who does a phenomenal job on the radio side of things. Alan would be fully capable of transitioning radio to TV. But like, Do you really let go Dave Benz, Caucasian male, to hire a Caucasian male? Yeah, I struggle to see that one. So, yeah, going in a different direction like Marnie, who's fully capable. Love Marnie. And she's front and center. She does a great job, with, being, omnipresent, right? I mean, heck, she was in our building not that long ago, filling in on Twin Cities Live. We know she's on a local morning show that's pretty popular on a regular basis. So, yeah, in terms of promoting the team, getting the word out, and, getting some headlines with a progressive move like that wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Interesting. Doogie, give us the update on Miguel Sano. So he's undergoing, do we know, is he undergoing the short-term meniscus repair or the long-term meniscus repair?
I was told he should be back before the month of June, at least, swinging the bat, whether that's in St. Paul or down in Fort Myers, but like he's not going to be still on crutches, able to do nothing like on June 27th. So, is that the short term? I suppose. I can tell you he's in, the Yankees team physician's doing the surgery. I guess I didn't check if maybe that physician flew in here, but
if I
I
trust
imagine
that guy.
it's probably in New York City.
No, I would have gone.
Yankees
Just
team
on
physician doing the
principle alone, I would have gone with a different team's head physician, I think.
Just what
So,
Miguel
yeah.
needs. Trip to New York.
Dr. Chris Ahmad is his name. World renowned. He's doing the surgery. The surgery by now, 1:30 New York time. We're talking here 12:30
Dr.
Central.
Aaron Judge will be performing the surgery.
Aaron
Probably
Boone.
done by now. But like the question is, Phil, once he's back, let's say he's back by June 25th or June 30th. What the heck is his role? Like, Kirilov can play first, Miranda can play first. Like,
Yeah.
Sano's not going to be here next year. Like, I think we're all figuring that they're going to pay the buyout before exercising.
Careful.
that-
You'll wind up in the
that
Bad Takes
option.
Hall of Fame. Be careful.
I
The
just
stands are coming for you, Darren. The stands are coming.
and hey, the decision they made at the time, I was fine with it. Like, I wouldn't have re-signed CJ Crone to then let go Sano. Like, at the time, the information we had at that moment, I thought it was a pretty easy decision. You choose Sano, you move on from CJ Crone. Credit to Crone for, having the great year, this great start with the Rockies. But I'm just saying at the time, like, I don't think it was a real tough decision. But
I mean, there was
it's
one
like that.
show.
It's like not a tough decision. You're not going to have Sano back next year.
No, there was one show in town that after his hot season said you should trade him while his value is high. This would be a mistake. I don't know what show that was, but it was some show. Some show. I don't know. Whatever.
Interesting.
You know what, though? When you say value is high, just like D'Lo. So who the heck was exactly trading for Sano?
To me, it wouldn't matter because he's not. I didn't believe that he was going to be a regular contributing. I mean, Doogie, he's been worth like 8 wins above replacement in 7 years. He's one of the most people get mesmerized because he hits 30 home runs once in a while. Okay, this is the most home run friendly the league has ever been the last 5 years. He doesn't do anything else. They literally signed him as a shortstop a decade ago, and he's devolved into a below average first baseman. He has to lose 30 pounds every year and a half because he gets out of shape. It's like, I'm not.
Although he's in pretty good shape right now. Like, I don't have a problem with the shape he's in right now. But yeah, I mean, he's very replaceable, right? I mean, you can find that defense for sure at first base. Yeah, I mean, he'll draw some walks. But yeah, I mean, you said it, Phil. I mean, incredibly replaceable. Bottom line, I'm just telling you, like, there's no chance the Twins are exercising that option for 2023. So if he comes back, sometime in the summer, middle of the season, like, what exactly is his role? Like, I can't really figure out what the heck it would be. I mean, they need a righty bat, I suppose. So I guess in the lineup here and there against some lefty pitching. But outside of that, like, I don't see him playing regularly.
No, I think you're right. All right, rapid fire scoops. Anything Vikings related from you?
Yeah, well, they signed a kicker out of Oklahoma who's got one heck of a leg, Gabe Burkich, to a multi-year deal. I'm waiting on a text on the money. I'm more curious on the money, not necessarily the term. But they are bringing in some competition for Greg Joseph. Chris Reed, the free agent offensive lineman addition from the Colts, Minnesota State Mankato. Look for him to get some action at center during training camp. That nothing has been promised to Garrett Bradbury. Now, we'll know the schedule, 1 week from today, May 12th. So we will know where the Vikings open up week 1, whether it's at US Bank Stadium or on the road, who the opponent is. Hey, Garrett Bradbury, that game, that second Sunday in September, or if they open up on Monday night, whatever it is, Garrett Bradbury could be the Vikings starting center. Like, he can win that job, but he has not been promised that job. So look for Chris Reed minimum. Maybe there's more, but Chris Reed minimum to get a look at center. Ed Ingram, their offensive line pick, second round, late second round from LSU. As of now, he has not been told that he'll compete at center. I wonder, I think he got some center looks down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. I think there's a better chance they look at him as somebody who could play some swing tackle if need be. So he can play left guard, right guard, Ingram can, but maybe they also give him a look at swing tackle.
Interesting. All right. There it is. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. Inside information about your favorite Minnesota sports teams with Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Can I leave you with a little Gopher basketball steam? Gopher men's basketball steam. I was with Ben Johnson this morning. He's got multiple open scholarships remaining. He's not using all those scholarships. It's one of those deals, like, you can't play more than 10 guys. So what's the point in having 13 scholarship players? Then you're pissing kids off, or you're making some promises about playing time. Then you don't follow through on that playing time. But he is going to add at least one more player from the transfer portal. Right now, arriving on campus, Dartmouth transfer guard Taurus Samuels.
Okay.
Maybe more so a point guard based on size, but can play off the ball. So that's what he's looking for more than anything. Kerwin Walton Jr., not in the Gophers mix. Josiah Strong was once in the Gophers mix, no longer in the Gophers mix. Also Jones, the sharpshooter from Woodbury High School. He's in the portal after a nice run at Davidson. He is not in the Gophers mix.
All right. There he is. Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Awesome, dudes. Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next
Mike
week,
Jones.
buddy.
His first name is Mike. Mike Jones from Woodbury. Good kid.
Enjoy your Cinco de Mayo. Go down to the street to Teresa's maybe tonight. Get a little.
You go for a little Teresa's, little California burrito. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So good.
Yeah, sign me up. That cheese sauce. Oh, yeah. I love it. I'm off this.
Talk dirty to me. Yes.
Yeah. I was on this gut cleanse for 28 days. I'm clear of that now. I'm with you. I'm all about Teresa's. Good idea. See you, boys.
All right. See you, Doogie.
Later, Diggs.
All right. There he is. By the way, that scoop session was presented by our friends at Aquaside. Declan, Aquaside.
Yeah, if you own a lake home, or maybe you have a pond on your property, you need to call my friends at Aquaside. They've been helping people maintain nice lake shores for over 60 years, and they have a complete line of lake and pond control products that will take care of anything from weeds to algae. Finally, it's warm out here, okay? We have 65 sunny. I was in T-shirts. I put some sunscreen on yesterday, okay? Which means I'm going to be in the water here soon enough, and you need to make sure that your lake home or pond or lake home or cabin is free of those weeds, and they've been killing weeds for over 60 years. They're a local company, too. They're in White Bear Lake. Go check them out, aquaside.com.
Boom. All right. A juicy scoop session there. I'm not sure if we solved anything with the Wolves there, but very interesting that they're going to be still looking at the Elton Brands of the world and considering Gupta, and we'll see what happens with old D'Lo and the Timberwolves play-by-play spot on Bally.
A lot up in the air. I think you should call Bally Sports North. And I think that we should tomorrow audition you for this job.
I mean, listen, I'm here. I am. Who's got two thumbs and has nothing but great things to say about the Timberwolves? But Phil, didn't you call Karl Anthony Towns a clown 6 times? I was hacked.
Yeah, it wasn't.
My podcast
What you were trying
was
to
hacked.
say it was like Tears of a Clown.
Tears of a clown. Yes, it was clownish behavior by everyone else for ripping Karl Anthony Towns.
So you're improving already. I think you could have a future
around.
here. You and Jim Pete.
Coming around, yeah. Oh, Jim Pete's my guy, man. Jim Pete's
I
my
love
guy.
Jim
Jim
Pete.
Pete and I have.
I'm not with Jim Pete.
You should see Jim Pete and I on a golf course. You want to see chemistry? It's chemistry right there.
I'm throwing it out there.
That's right. I have golfed with Jim Peterson. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
Coming up next on Bally Sports North, Phil Mackey and Jim Pete take to the links.
Who's got two thumbs and likes to name drop? Right here. This guy. This guy.
I think we should audition you for the job.
Okay. We'll put some tape together. We'll send it in. See what happens. All right, that's a wrap. Mackey and Judd, happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. We'll see you guys tomorrow.